Let's go!
All right. Well, hey, good morning, everybody. It is the Rise and Grind morning show. Yes, Derek is back. He's back in the house. Glad to have him around. Derek, what's happening this morning, my man?
What's up, Will? Good morning to all out there, man. Let's talk some Detroit Lions.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some good topics this morning, some newsworthy topics to talk about. And, man, shout out to the chat already. 5:58 a.m.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Better the Hunt is waiting at 5:58. Poppy and Lily's dad is waiting at 5:34 in the morning. I mean, dedication. Appreciate you guys. You are the number one reason why we're here. And shout out to everybody else. Peter Van Larhoven, El Torrey, Eduardo O'Neill, Randy P, I Register. Of course, we got Derek going in there, Brandon Bowen, Braylon Dennis. It's man, bear, pig kind of morning out there. It's rainy. And Stat Pat 35, a finder of things. Love it. What's happening, everybody? Good morning. If I missed anybody, it's not by purpose. So, hey, it is Rumor City already. And it's going to get even worse here in about 6 short days. The waning hours are upon us to when free agency kicks off. And we're going to talk about that this morning. We're also going to talk about, some of the Lions options, what's left for them in free agency. And I think I'll kick it off right away with a big one. Jason Kelce retires yesterday, and he says that his favorite game ever in his entire career was the Snow Bowl versus the Detroit Lions. When I heard this, I started thinking, all right, is there any conspiracy to what he's saying? Like, does this mean something? Probably not. But just to hear him say that he respected, the game and the Lions and how incredible it was. I forget their running back, but how their running back was able to dig in and really win the game for them that day. But to see this grown man cry and talk about the Lions all in the same breath was incredible. He's a legend. And quite honestly, and I'll kick it over to you, Derek, but he is, in my opinion, exactly what you want in a Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes kind of guy. Somebody that lives, eats, breathes football. It brought all of the greatest things out of him. And he spoke about that. If you guys haven't had a chance to watch it, I would urge you to watch it. It's a hard 40 minutes, but it's worth it. So, Derek, what do you think about Jason Kelce, his retirement, his shout out to the Lions, and I guess where he goes from here?
Well, you know what, man? I think the first thing is with him gone, now we got to say Frank is the best center in football now, man. So
there you go.
That's one. Yeah, man, Kelce, bro. That game, I remember that game. And I remember watching. It's funny because he played the game and he loved it. I hated that game, and it was LaShawn McCoy, because I remember him beating us. I'm like, to me, it was no fun watching. It was snow everywhere. You couldn't see anything. But I know those guys playing they call it a child's game. And it was that day, just snow everywhere, slipping, sliding. But Kelce, man, I watched it. And it was tough. I mean, he started off tough, man. And like you said, you could just see the passion, the love that he had for not only the game, but his teammates, his coaches. He thanked Andy Reid and for taking a chance on him, and how he almost was traded, but somebody in the organization, one person believed in him and helped him turn into the guy that he is today. So, but as far as a Dan Campbell type of guy, man, 100% loves the game, love his team, and knows where it was in his life. And I think all those things, man, put it together that's the type of guy we're looking for. But, best wishes to Kelce, man. He's got a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, famous family. Now he's going to be, Taylor's brother-in-law very soon, probably. So, can't go wrong there. So kudos to Kelce. I like what he said about losing to his brother, how it was bittersweet. And I think that was an honest moment. Like you're torn, conflicted between family and winning. And that's how important winning is. Like, and I want Detroit Lions fans to listen to that. Like we taking baby steps now, but winning is the ultimate goal. You know what I mean? So shout out to Jason, man. Hopefully he has a great life after football.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he's going to be set up just fine, and part of me, I wondered, and Braylon, I'll get to you in just a moment. Just give me 1 second. Part of me wonders, was what he wrote everything from his heart? Like, did he write all of that? Because I'll say two things, man. One, must be very well read, very intelligent, but also has a softer side to him that you don't typically see in football. And you mentioned that this morning, Derek, that, you watch a grown grizzly man cry, live, and
ball. He cried, he was balling, bro.
And it means something, right? I mean, that tells you how important this game is. And I think that to segue away from this too is that's why Derek and I do what we do. Like, we have a love for this game, a love for the fan base and the community that surrounds it. And that's why we're here. That is the number one reason, is, at least for me, I'm not going to speak for Derek, is it's the people, it's the love of the game and the joy that it brings, and everything that it surrounds. And if you ever played it as a kid, you know what it means. Like when Jason Kelce was saying that the smell of fresh, clipped grass, there's something to that that sparks memories and gets you to rewind time a little bit when things maybe were a little bit easier. As you get older, things tend to get a little tougher. So Braylon Dennis, good morning. He says Chiefs have officially tagged Snead. Yeah, big news. It came out yesterday. We were expecting it for probably the last 3 or 4 days that Snead was going to get traded, or tagged, then traded, hopefully. And I guess we'll start with that. So Braylon, shout out to you this morning and your $2 donation, much appreciated. And Derek, is there any potential? Do you really think that there's potential for a tag and trade? I did the research the other day, did a video on it where I was live with everybody, and I kind of showed them that there's only been 6 tag and trades in the last 10 years. Not one cornerback has ever been tagged and traded. And the implications surrounding a tag and trade is huge. Losing draft picks and spending big time money. It's different than just going out and plucking a Jalen Johnson and spending the same kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, would you want Snead? Number two, would you be willing to give up what has been speculated, a first round pick and a later round pick, like a 4th or 5th in 2025? Is that something you'd give up and pay this dude $18 million a year?
Wow. So first part of that, would I want Snead? Of course, right? Who wouldn't? I despise the franchise tag. I hate it. So to answer your question very concisely, no, I would not. Even with the deal on the table, I wouldn't. So you're talking about a guy who Snead is 27, right? He's definitely a dog. Tyreek said jammed him all the way to Cancun, Super Bowl champion back to back. But what I don't like is the draft capital. That's what I don't like. And the fact that the Chiefs get to do what they do. This guy is set to be a free agent, but they're going to say no. And they're going to hold him hostage. If I'm Brad Holmes, I got to find another way. I'm sorry. I just do. Because to me, I just don't like it. The price tag that comes with it, the capital that comes with it, and the fact that we have to lock him up for a few years to even make this work. So I'm going to say, because of that tag, that's going to be a no for me. If Brad Holmes pulls it off, I'm not going to be mad. I do trust him to some extent, everything but the pass rush. But I do trust him because he's very very good with the money thus far, outside of a contract to DJ Chark. But I would trust him if he pulled it off. But I'm not very fond of the idea after the franchise tag has been placed.
So here's my quick opinions, and I'll come back to the chat in just a moment here. But here's my opinions on this whole deal, and I kind of said this the other night. Okay, first round, 2024, you've got pick 29. Mm-hmm. What are the what's the likelihood that if you take a cornerback at 29 that he is going to be a day one starter and is going to be as locked down as Snead in year one? Probably unlikely. So would you rather bring in a guy that is a bona fide number one plays on the outside, boundary guy, can play man press, can come in and do it as long as he stays healthy. So you're giving up a pick for, a guy that can do it versus a guy that you think can do it. And then you're just throwing in, maybe a fourth or a fifth round in 2025 to sweeten the pot. My theory was if they want a first round pick and a team to pay $18 million a year to this guy, estimated, then they're going to have to throw something in the pot, which would probably be a third round pick. So if that were to happen, you give up a first, they throw in a third, you give up a fourth, you get Snead and pay him $18 million. If you combine the whole situation, you're basically giving up a second round pick at the end of the day. And you got a guy that can come in and do it. So does it make sense then? I know you don't like the tag. Sorry, I don't either. I think it's exactly like what you said. You're holding a guy hostage. You're not letting him get on with his career, but you're trying to milk something out of the deal.
Yep.
And you're going to milk somebody because somebody's going to want his services. So I would say this, if that situation were to happen exactly like that, you get a third, which is number 95, I think overall this year, you give up 29. So you're just moving down about 60 spots. You get Snead, you give up a fourth next year, which you have two of them. And you pay the guy $18 million a year on a 4-year deal, $75 million ish, and you'll backload the heck out of the deal. So it really won't hurt you this year. At that point, does it make sense? That's where I think it is. Personally, that's what I said the other day.
You think they do this? Do you think he's on the table for Brad?
I think that he would be on the table if the situation was painted just like I said. I think that Brad is going to look, I'm not giving a first, not to pay this guy $18 million. I'll give you a second and a fourth all day right now, but I'm not going to give you a first and a fourth. You're going to have to throw in something. We're taking the guy off your hands. But here's the other thing: the Chiefs have gone in and said they're going to consummate the franchise tag. They're not going to back up off of it. So whether he goes or not, he's playing for the Chiefs this year, according to the Chiefs.
So, Will, here's my thing, though. So, all right, this is why this thing is tough to me, because the Lions, we know we need defense, and I would have to say they know that as well. So the thing about it is, if you're sitting at 29 and you're not going to go hard in the paint in free agency for a Danielle Hunter, Burns is about to get tagged, so they say. So that means there's only a few options left. If you're not going to go hard in the paint in free agency, then wouldn't that pick 29? Maybe you can get a Chop Robinson, a Darius Robinson. Maybe you can get somebody on the back end, late first, early second. Well, in this case, late first. So if you're giving up 29 for Snead, you take that option away. So we get a cornerback, but now we can't get that pass rusher that we need, and we didn't get him in free agency. So I don't know, man. For me, it's kind of risky because they're going to want to pull the trigger on this. You would assume, if the Lions really are in play for Snead, they're going to want to get this done. So I don't know, bro. It's kind of hard to tell if what they're going to do when they're going to do it. So I don't know, bro. This is tough for me. I know we need a guy who can shut somebody down in the secondary. But I've been a firm believer, Will, that you have to have a pass rush, man. If you do that, then you don't need necessarily a guy like Snead. He would be fantastic, but you don't need a guy you can't be giving Lamar Jackson 9.4 seconds to throw, right?
No.
What is that, bro? Like 4 times the average that a quarterback has in the pocket. So for me, it's like, get that pass rusher. And maybe, I'm not saying I don't want Snead or I wouldn't take him. I'm just saying, maybe we don't have to go that route if we was to bolster that defensive line.
All right. I want to come back to this in just a moment, but let me jump in the chat here for just a second. Good morning. Shadow Viper says, I'm late, but I'm here. Good morning, everyone. Peter Van Larhoven says the tag and trade doesn't fit the Brad Holmes way of doing business. King SJ, hey, good morning from Toronto. Morning, gentlemen. Peter Van Larhoven asked if Johnson was tagged. As of right now, I have not heard anything that Johnson's been tagged. I think the deadline is noon today. So
Johnson, who's Johnson?
Jalen Johnson.
Oh, Jalen Johnson. No, I did see from Adam Schefter that he is on the list. Him, Burns, Josh Allen, and a few other people are like definitively going to be tagged. We're just waiting on if a deal can't get put in place, they will be tagged.
Well, that's not good. So that takes Jalen off the books too. So, yesterday when I put out the video about all the DTs and DNs that are going to be tagged today, even if a deal is close and they can't get it done, they're going to tag them so they can get it done. Is what they're expecting. So
tag, bro. I hate it.
Rick says, I'd love to have them, but the price is way too high. So I'm going to stop there for a moment. And then I'm going to say this. Let's say Jalen Johnson does not get tagged. Would you spend $18 million on Jalen Johnson? You're not giving up any picks. Jalen Johnson doesn't get tagged. So the difference is Snead, you're basically giving up a second rounder overall if you give up a first and a fourth and you pay $18 million, or it's Jalen Johnson. Clearly, I would say the number one corner right now on the free agent, list, but he's probably, and I said 18 million a minute ago, he's probably going to command closer to 2021 in a 4-year deal. So if Johnson is not tagged, are you pulling the trigger on Johnson?
Yeah, he's 24. So yes. Save
was Snead a product of the COVID year? I can't remember. Did he play an extra year of football in college?
I'm not sure, but I know he's a 4th rounder. I think he's a 4th round pick, something like that, which, so for me,
that's a great point. So, to that point, Derek, if he's a 4th rounder, that means Brad Holmes can likely find somebody in the 2nd, the 3rd. We don't have a 4th yet, but he could potentially find somebody that works out. So I think that's a great point, that just because you're not a 1st rounder doesn't mean you're not going to play great in the NFL. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, St. Brown is the perfect example. So for me, bro, you got age, and I'm not opposed to it. Now we're talking about a deal, a 4-year deal. Cam got a 3, and he'll I think he's pushing 30, right? He'll be 30 very soon. So I'm doing that, bro. Jalen number 1, Cam number 2. Get a pass rush, whether it's I'm not gonna say whether it's or. I want both. I want some free agents. I want them in the draft, bro. Just because we got a lot. Will, if you really think about it, bro, and I don't know if we have a segment on this today, but if you think about it, that defensive line is thin, man. When you really do dissect it, Charles is gone, Romeo is gone. Are we really rocking with Benito Jones? Bugs is gone. Julian is gone. So it just all of a sudden just thinned out. And that's why, Christian Wilkins is a name. And I saw your video from the other day. Good job, by the way. But so it's like we got some moves to make, man. So Jalen would be fire. And he's got age on his side. We know he's a dog. So I wouldn't be mad at that at all. Not at all.
So shout out to Donovan Amos. Good morning. Donovan 499 chat says, good morning, guys. No to Snead. We should be trading back to get more picks, not giving up picks. I don't know if we are in position to trade at all. So here's what I would say to this. I've done some mocks, and I know I'm late on getting them out because I'm struggling with them. This draft sucks. It is probably the worst draft I have seen, even worse than last year's. Because the quarterback class last year I said was going to be terrible, but this year the quarterback class is actually pretty good. But there's nothing that the Lions, if I'm looking at need and BPA and I kind of blend them a little bit, where the Lions are picking, they're not getting the players that I think are going to be beneficial. Now, Brad Holmes will find somebody, but I think that, Amos is right here. Like, we've got to trade back or do something to add more picks.
For the second time since 1957, for the first time since January 5th, 1992, these Detroit Lions are going to win a playoff game.
Oh, I know, right?
The Lions have traded back after the first round, and the Detroit crowd erupts because they went to the draft and got no show at all.
Yep. So Peter, that's what I was going to go into a little bit is Derek mentioned that the defensive side of the ball is pretty bleak there at defensive tackle, defensive end. And it really is and we've done a couple roster breakdowns and we've looked at how many holes we have. There is literally holes on this team everywhere, but quarterback and running back. Everywhere else is wide open.
Yeah.
Now we've brought in, some players that are on, future reserve contracts. Matthew Betts, we don't know what's going to happen with him. We got Quantez Stiggers coming in. We don't know what's going to happen with him, but let's just say they make the team. We're still thin. So if we can trade back or move up somehow, I think that the Lions need to somehow find picks between 35 and 50. If they can add one more pick to what they have right now between 35 and 50, they will be able to secure the defensive line, the cornerback, and the defensive end all in this draft. And if we were to go defense with the first 3, I would be surprised. But then you also will have the option of grabbing, like a Guyton with your first pick at 29, who is a hell of a tackle that maybe you could move to guard for a year and see what happens with Taylor Decker over time, and then move Penei Sewell down the line when Decker's gone. But we have to find a guard too. So to Peter Van Larhoven's point, we don't have a starting right or left guard. We don't have anybody signed yet. We will by next week, hopefully. But this Lions roster is thin, like really thin. So let's segue here to that.
Will, you froze for a little bit, bro. You froze, but you back now.
I'm sorry. So let's segue over to Slim Pickens in the free agency period right now. So it's going to hit in 6 days. Defensive tackle, defensive end has slimmed considerably. According to the news that came out yesterday through Adam Schefter, that multiple defensive ends and defensive tackles will be tagged today. And it only leaves really Danielle Hunter and Christian Wilkins as the top tier guys available. There's some second tier guys that we've talked about. So we're 1 week away, Derek. What do you think the play is here? Outside of what you want, what do you think the play is here?
Man, that's a tough one, Will, because I think what I want is kind of what Brad is based on what he's done the past 2 years. Like last year, I couldn't answer this question, but this year I think I can. Brad knew that the secondary was atrocious. So what does he do? He just attacks it. We re-sign our players, which is something we got to talk about, man. Not a lot of re-signings. It's weird, bro. Josh Reynolds is still kind of, but so what I think he's going to do is I think he sees what we see, and I think he's going to hit up that defensive line. Who it is, I don't know. And that's the thing, because like you said, once all the tags are placed, it's only one name out there, man. Danielle Hunter. That's really it as far as the DE. When you've got DT, you got Christian Wilkins, who, by the way, it would be a solid addition to this team. So what, I don't know, man. It's just like, but whatever it is, it's happening in the next week. Here's what I want. I want the one thing that Brad has done, Will, the past 3 years that he's been a general manager. I remember specifically year 2, it was he re-signed everybody, like Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds, all these, Alex Anzalone just was in-house. And I didn't understand why at the time. Now I do. And I feel like, okay, we're going to take care of those guys between today and next Monday. But Monday, at whatever time it opens, that tampering period, man, I hope that there's something in play. And I'll tell you something else to watch for, too. In the next, I would say, 5 or 6 days, will Khalil Mack be cut as well? So it's some things that could happen in the next 5 or 6 days. So what he will do, I'm hoping, is what I want him to do, which is attack the pass rush. That would be my primary focus.
Yeah. The word out of Indy is that we're looking for a top tier corner. And I think that if teams know that, I think the Chiefs are smart in doing what they're doing, because they know we gave them fits last year. If that was the Lions and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs don't go back to back. I'm sorry.
It's too soon, Will. It's too soon, bro.
I know. So, but I got to tell you, though, that if we get Snead, and the Chiefs know that, if we get Snead, it's game over. Just from locking down one area that we had tough times with last season will extremely help this team in 2024. Just one position, if you can fix it and get incrementally better, we're going to have a much better season in 2024 with locking down some of these bigger wide receivers that gave us fits all last year.
Okay, Will, question. Which one are you picking? Are you doing D-line, secondary, or cornerback? Which one you have to make one decision? Which way are you going?
I'm going corner, but so if I'm going to totally disregard what's available, let's just say everybody's available, I'm going corner. So what's going to dictate that change in mindset is what's happening right now. Chiefs are putting the tag on Snead. The Bears might put the tag on Johnson. So if that happens, you have to pivot and go another direction, and that leaves you an option at defensive line. But I would go corner first, because this draft where the Lions are picking, they'll be able to get a rookie Aurora Rowe. They'll be able to get a Darius Robinson or a Chop, if he doesn't move up, early into the first. So there's options for them to solidify the defensive line. And yes, it's going to be a rookie that's coming in, but I think that it's still going to be better than what we had last year.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at, man. I've been saying corner for weeks and weeks and weeks now, that I think corner is the most important position, because it is the closest position between Brian Branch, Iffy, Kirby, and Cam Sutton. It is the closest position to finally being locked down. If Mosley would have turned out last year, I think that we would be, talking a much different scenario right now, but we're not, because Mosley didn't turn out. He didn't work out. And now you have CJ Gardner, whether he's, a bubble guy coming back or not, we don't know.
Yeah.
So I think that you're just one or two players away now from the back end of this defense from finally being relevant. And I think that's where you have to go first, my opinion.
Okay. So Will, I guess the logic that I would have is in regards to that is that'll be 2 years in a row that Brad has just said, you know what, I'm attacking the secondary. And I would assume that you would, and if we do that in free agency, maybe we get some second tier guys in free agency on the D line, because we do need second tier players to fill the voids of Charles and Romeo and Julian. So that's facts. But if we get a back end first round edge rusher, can he contribute right away? And we're talking about a immediate Robin to Aiden's Batman. And that's what I'm serious, bro. Like, if we take a guy, we know that Aiden is our Batman. So can we get, if we go a Darius who needs to work on his pass rush, like the kid, by the way, well-spoken, big dude, really big dude, right? But can we get a Robin, somebody to come in there and have Aiden's back on that opposite side? And that's the thing. So if the thing about it too, Will, is we went really hard in free agency and with the cornerback, the secondary position last year, from CJ to Branch in the draft and Cam and it was the worst position on our team. We attacked it. So if Brad neglects the pass rush, I don't know, bro. Like, I feel like just taking a draft pick would be neglecting it. I truly do, man. I feel like you got to go get somebody. Whether at this point, bro, I take Christian. If we don't get, because Christian, man, he could help us as well. I'm not big on DT because we drafted Broderick Martin, but I feel like at this point, bro, give me him as well. Like, it get somebody on that line, because we are thin. We are, bro. Like, if you look at the roster, Will, it's just thin, man. It really is.
So and this is a good point by Donovan. He says, so what if that $20 million guy gets injured and we have no depth? That's a great point. So you guys know that I've been speaking second tier for a while on the defensive line, but second tier doesn't mean worthless. Doesn't mean,
right,
what we've had this last couple of seasons. Second tier is just a money thing to me. So first tier, you're talking north of 15 million. Second tier, you're talking somewhere between that 7 and 14 million. Third tier is your, it's the guys that are going to end up probably making the practice squad if they don't, get their butt together. But second tier to me is AJ Epinesa and guys like that. So a guy that's coming off of a second, will be a second contract, coming off his rookie deal, was a rotational guy. So he barely played 50% of the snaps, which is going to keep his contract low. And you get two of those guys, if not three. So if you get two or three of those guys and you spend, $17 million a year on three guys, two really good second tiers and a third tier guy for depth, to Amo's point, now you have some options that could be really good. One of them could blow up. Like, I think AJ Epinesa with Aiden Hutchinson is going to be a terror to offensive lines. I think that he just hasn't had a full opportunity because he was on a crowded defensive line.
So you're saying he could be a starter? Is that what you're saying?
1,000%. I think AJ could be a starter, but that's second tier defensive end. Now, defensive tackle is different to me.
Okay.
I've always felt this way, and there's research about it, that the path to the quarterback has always been interior defensive tackle. Always. And that's because you break the middle of the offensive line, your ends can then do the rest. So you still need the ends, but you need that punch in the mouth right in the middle of the offensive line to be able to break the chain. Where an offensive line does their work is together in the middle. So everything works on, just, what a chain looks like. If you break the center link, what happens to everything else? It falls apart. So if you break an end link, well, you still got the rest of the chain that can move, up and down. It's an old analogy they used to give us in football training that they would literally put a chain on the ground and say, all right, break this link. Now shift. You guys are still strong. Break this link in the middle. Now you are weak. Now you're separated. So that's where I think that they can benefit is you bring in a Christian Wilkins, you sign a second tier guy like AJ Epinesa, and then you fill in your depth. And I think that is probably the best play. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if Brad Holmes is going to do it because we've heard Brad Holmes say it time and time again. You don't know these guys, and you have to know these guys. And that's where I looked at. I don't know if you caught the video the other day where I went through all of Brad Holmes' last 6 or 7 drafts. The players that he's brought in on free agency, Derek, are all players that he's interviewed. Cam Sutton, Denzel Mims, all of them. Those are all players that he's interviewed with the Rams. He knows those. He knows those guys. Almost every free agent the Lions have brought in has been because he did a pre-combine visit with them, pre-draft visit with them. He's interviewed them. He knows them. And
so
Justin
what's the skinny, bro? Who we bringing in this year?
That's what we have to look at. I'm still analyzing this list. I don't think I know Justin Madubuike was on that list. I don't think Christian Wilkins was on that list.
He's going to get tagged as well. That's the name.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's on there as well. Yep.
Yeah. All right, let me get into the chat here. I apologize. I'm not trying to leave you guys alone this morning, but there's just so much to cover.
It is because we're the dead series. We've got through February, and now it's time for things to pick up.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rick says second tier can turn into first tier in a single season. I would agree with that. Better the Hunt says, okay, I will say it. Van Ginkel. That's Derek's guy. So look, I was, blown away by that when Derek brought that. It was a joke. And then now it's like, holy cow, that's real. But he might be $8 million a year.
It was never a joke, man. So I'm like, I did it because I'm like, watch this happen. Because that's Brad, bro. I drove past the Dollar Tree yesterday and I started to pull over and take a picture and put it on Twitter, like because and listen, that's one of the guys. Now, Will, you said second tier based off monetary value. I think as well as production, like a second tier person for me, and I agree with you on the defensive tackle. However, there's a dude on our team that's over 300 pounds. We traded up to get him. He's supposed to take a massive. No. According to the chat and Detroit Lions fans, Broderick Martin is supposed to take a leap in year 2. So if we traded up to get the Broderick Martin, do we need to get a defensive tackle in free agency? So that's why I'm like, well, if we risked, we got this project, dude. So now that obviously means that we need some edge help. So that's why I'm like, I would go Danielle Hunter over Christian Wilkins first, because you would have to believe that Broderick Martin taking number 96 in the top 100 players, that he is going to be at I'm not going to say impact. I'll leave that for year 3. He's going to be relevant this year, right? So for me, bro, I need that defensive end. Hutch needs some edge help, but I do agree with you though, because that's why defensive tackle getting 15 sacks. 9 sacks. That's a big deal, bro, because of what you said. The strong, how you break that link and stuff like that. So I'm like, I gotta get a DE, bro. That's just what I got to do.
So let me throw this at you, because I've tossed this around in my brain a little bit, and I hope that Broderick Martin, and he was next on the list, so let's just do it. I hope that Broderick Martin really does make a leap forward, because he needs it, right? He needs to prove his worth for Brad taking him in the top 100. And I do believe that if he's relegated to really solid backup role, I don't think that that's a bad pick necessarily. And if you look at how Brad has drafted, if you look from even year 1, 2021, I mean, he grabbed guys like Malcolm Rodriguez, right? And that guy wasn't supposed to be somebody. He was a starter year 1, and now he's high grade backup year 2. I almost said high grade dog food. So, he's a high grade backup in year 2. And I think that you're seeing some of that with Brad, because he's all about building the core and the foundation, right? He's doing that first. He'll find his top tier guys that will, they'll filter in. It's not like you need every pick to be a top tier guy eventually.
Yeah.
But I think some of these guys are drafted for depth. And the Derek Barnes analogy would be, in year 1, everybody's like, what in the F are you doing? Iffy, what in the F are you doing? And then now in year 3, Brad comes up to the podium, is like, I told you, Dave, I told you. You don't grade a draft, in year 1, you grade it in year 3.
Hey, he pulled a wheel. He was like, receipt.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you just got to keep it real for the folks and let them know that maybe you know just a few things. And that's what Brad did. And look, I think that Broderick was chosen to be a really good backup. I don't think that he was chosen to be the next Christian Wilkins. But he could surprise us.
All right. So here is my issue. And I made a video about this as well. And I love the comment section, man, because Brad doesn't miss. As a matter of fact, I am going to reach out to his camp. And I'm going to ask him in his bath water so I can sell it. Brad Holmes' bath water. Okay, so here's my thing. And we don't have to stay on Broderick Martin long because I've been talking about him for a year. Okay, here's the thing. We had picks number 122, 139, and 169. Broderick, is it? Okay, do we know? No, because if I knew the future, I would probably be sitting in a huge studio right now because I would know something, right? But my thing is this. We traded up for a guy that was, this guy, for what we did, Will, this guy has to be a powerhouse. He does. He wasn't taking it one. We gave up 122, 139, and 169 to come get a guy at 96 like he wasn't going to be there. So he cannot be a backup anything. He just can't. He was chosen. When was Amon-Ra St. Brown taken? He was taken before him, right?
Fourth round.
So I want to make this very clear because people seem not to get it. Maybe it's the emotion of me and them. Okay. My issue is that we traded up to get Broderick Martin and what we gave up. That is the issue. It's not about Broderick himself. It's not about anything else but the fact that we traded up for a guy who had zero impact year 1. And I'm sorry, Will. Well, I'm gonna stop apologizing. You can't give up 3 picks. You can't take a guy in the top 100 who's going to be a backup anything because your guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, you gonna hate this, bro. He about to break the bank. He's about to break it. So if you get a 4th round, who is a diamond in the rough, I get that. But as we're sitting there, Will, and we're with the 96th pick in the 2023 NFL draft, the Detroit Lions select Broderick Martin. And you were like, who? You're looking up who is this? Right? The internet exploded because nobody knew who he was. So that is my point. And that's my point alone is I feel like there had to be one of those picks that would have done something this year, not sit on the bench in a polyester shirt. That's just where I'm at. So for me, bro, Broderick cannot be anything less but a certified starter in year 3. That's it.
All right. I'll say a few quick things on Martin, and it might slip into St. Brown, and I hope not. But number one, look, he could have at least upgraded his shirt to silk. I mean, let's just say, he's got the money. He could at least worn a silk shirt. Number 2, I went through the exercise about a week ago and looked at all of the players that were taken after Martin. Okay. And my question to you would be, and you're going to have to go through the chart, probably won't be today, obviously, but you're going to have to go through it and say, all right, who would I have taken? Because I went through it and there wasn't a defensive end or a defensive tackle that would have been better. And I don't really see another player that really stood out to me. So that's number 2. Number 3 would be, I think that Brad Holmes was faced with a dilemma that he had too many picks. And what I mean by that is that the roster was already kind of set as long as the guys made it through camp healthy. There was a few players that were probably on the bubble, but he knew who his guys were going to be. Because you remember, there's only 53 players you can have on a roster. The rest are going to practice squad.
Right.
So Yeah, he could have added some more, higher grade practice squad guys, but I think that the draft was terrible. Point number 4 would be the draft was terrible last year after that third round. It really was. There just wasn't a whole lot there. And I think that, what Brad said was telling. He said, last year I had 14 first round grades, not 32. So I wanted to get in, get out, get my guys, get out. And he did that. He took Jameer, the internet broke. He took Jack Campbell, he broke it again. Mm-hmm. And then he took Sam Laporta, and people are like, WTF, what is this guy doing? And then you look at what happened this season, and it's like 4 impact players from that draft. So I don't think that Martin taking a flyer, or not Martin, Holmes taking a flyer on Martin was that big of a deal when you have 4 impact players from that draft already. Golly, if he gets 5 impact players, I mean, that would have just been insane. But he also knew that Hendon Hooker was going to sit. Mm-hmm. So 4 out of his first 5 picks all played invaluable roles last season to get to the NFC title game. Martin sat. So, and yes, I know, it kind of burns you up because you look at it and you say, but our defensive line was trash on the right side. Yeah. And that, I think, is why you're so upset with it, because you think that maybe there could have been something else. I would have said that guy was in free agency, and he probably should have made a move in free agency. Not so much the trade deadline, but free agency. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I hear you.
Yeah. The thing is, Will, like we're every year is unique, and we sniffed it, bro, and we were that close. So for me, I agree, and I think that's why Brad gets passes. Nobody talks about Trinity Benson. No one talks about anything bad he does, because the good does outweigh the bad. So I'm not trying to drop the bomb on Brad Holmes. I'm simply saying, and this is not toward you, this is toward the internet in general, is that you have neglected a spot, right? And so I see what you're saying about it was so bad. It was so bad, Will. How bad was it? It was so bad, the draft, that he traded up to get a guy that he knew wasn't going to play. So if I look at it like that, it's like, okay, well, you just basically took a guy and you traded up to take him, right? So now, Brad, you have an opportunity in the draft, in free agency. At this point, man, I'm just asking you, get a defensive line, help out your guys in the secondary so that Cam Sutton doesn't look like a broke Jerry Jacobs. I'm serious, man. Yeah. We need some if Lamar, I flash back to Lamar hopping in the pocket. He's looking like somebody off Madden where there's 0 pass rush. And it's time, Will. It's just the best thing, I said this in the video, the best thing that Brad has done, trade away Matthew Stafford and draft, in my opinion, Aiden Hutchinson. I know that's your guy, but because it's time, we'll get a pass rush. Okay, can we, let me ask you this. Do you agree that we need to get to the quarterback, not pressure the quarterback, get him down on the ground?
Yeah, and you don't want me to go down that rabbit hole, because all of those pressures coming off the left side don't mean squat if you can't get to the quarterback. So and the reason why is because a pressure, this is what a pressure is. And there's a couple of different ways to get one. Literally just taking the guard or the tackle and pushing them back about a yard into the pocket. That is a pressure. That's it. You don't have to get close to the quarterback. You don't have to touch the quarterback. You just have to move your opponent 1 yard.
No way. That's what a pressure is.
There's multiple different explanations of a pressure, but that is one of the definitions of a pressure. So the pressures don't matter unless you get home, right? Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's segue to maybe some other topics here. I think that there's a lot of things going on right now that are going to be telling with Brad Holmes, this draft and free agency. You know that I'm on record saying we needed 4 drafts. We were, half a season away, just because I knew that we needed another round of Brad Holmes to get at least 2 impact players. I think that's the goal this draft. He'll probably get more, but I think that if he can get 2 impact players on the defensive side of the ball, I call it a win. This draft is kind of light. It's bleak. But do yourself a favor. If you guys want to get caught up on all of the free agency news, number one, watch us at Rockdown Syndicate. Please subscribe. We're going to be bringing you guys as much news as we can. Also, make sure you guys check out Derek's channels at Lion Syndicate. And then you've got Rocked On Podcast Network, 3 amazing channels. Derek's been doing it a long time. He brings you guys some great information. His takes, are excellent. He gives you perspective that's different than other people. Yeah, he likes the spicy rice, as they say. So make sure you guys check us out. And if you want to watch this show in the future, you've got to subscribe to Rocked On Syndicate, because by April 1st, before the draft, we're going to be transitioning just to that channel. But make sure you check out sportspider.com. So if you want to get the rest of your news and us, we're featured in there. SportSpider, that's SportSpider.com. Check out sportspider.com today. Get all of your sports in one place. It's cool, man. You guys can whittle it all down by customizing it. And it really makes reading your sports news on every sport so easy. SportSpider.com. All right. Let's move on to something else here. Caleb Williams. And we'll talk a little NFC North for a minute. So Caleb Williams, what do you think of the drama surrounding him not doing the medical and kind of ignoring the combine? And do you still think that he's potentially going to be the Bears' first pick? And are the Lions, right back into trouble with Justin Fields potentially exiting to another NFC North team? Oh,
yep, I saw that too. That NFC North team could very well be the Minnesota Vikings. So I did see if that's where Will was going with that. So it's crazy because if as far as Caleb is concerned, I don't understand this whole thing. This guy it seems like a headache I don't want anything to do with. So I'm glad it's the Bears and not the Detroit Lions. But I'm like, he won't do his medical. He didn't work out at the he's supposed to have a pro day in 3 weeks and 2 weeks or whatever. I'm just like, is he worth? And they're talking about like the next potential Patrick Mahomes. So yeah, I am good on that. I have nothing to say really about that. But I will say this, as far as Ranting Q says, come on, people, bringing Brad Holmes is allow a few mistakes. No one is perfect. And that's true, bro. Like, nobody's perfect. I understand that. Here's the thing. When like Brad Holmes, just like me, I'm on the internet, right? And I have to be able to take criticism, not disrespect, but I'm going to take criticism, right? So Brad Holmes, he's going to miss. It is what it is. I just want him to do one. Y'all got to understand. I want Brad to do one thing. Just do one thing for me, Brad. Get a pass rush. That's all I want him to do. Once he does that, and I know Will doesn't want to talk about this, so we're going to skip over this when he returns. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to get probably $30 million and very close to that. And once Brad does that, that's going to tell me, okay, he's not cheap. He's not what I thought he was, but he's very selective. And who is he going to select to bring in? So as far as Caleb, bro, I'm like, what is the hype surrounding this guy? He seems like it has nothing to do with him crying on the sideline. I'm all for me and crying, man. Even the toughest dudes will cry. It's an emotion that was given to us by, a higher power. So for me, crying is not a problem, but it is everything else. He's not going to interview. He's not going to work out. He's not going to do the medical. It's like, well, what are we doing here? If I'm Ryan, what's the dude name? The Bears GM, Ryan Poles. I'm like, Justin Fields is looking mighty good right now. So I'm over Caleb, bro.
Yeah, so I apologize. I forgot that I left my compressor on, so it was a bit loud. I apologize if it hurt you guys' ears. But hey, we got open air studio this morning. We've got the windows open. It's a nice, balmy, rainy day here. So I'm in the fresh air. Might be a little bit of an echo. I apologize, but I'm going to get the air while I have it. So here we go. Caleb Williams. The reason why I'm bringing this up is threefold, I guess. One, it's the impact on the NFC North and the Detroit Lions having to deal with yet again another running quarterback, another dual threat quarterback. But I mean, Caleb is a pure passer. Like, this guy can spin the ball. Personally, I think that Daniels is the better pick at number one, just because he's still just as electric as Caleb Williams, but I think he throws the ball even better. So I think that I'm expecting the Bears to take Daniels, but we'll see, what happens over the next couple of weeks. But either way, Caleb Williams or Daniels, the Lions are going to be back in trouble. So the reason why I'm segueing to this is we just got off of Martin, the pass rush, and what needs to be, taken care of on that side of the ball for the Lions. because now we're going to have another dual threat quarterback to go against. And to make matters worse, I think I heard Derek say it, Justin Fields could potentially become a Minnesota Viking. So not only are we going to remove a quarterback in Kirk Cousins who doesn't run, but we are going to now have the potential to have two dual threat quarterbacks and Jordan Love, who's also a dual threat quarterback. The Lions need to do something on this defensive line to be able to contain these quarterbacks. Otherwise, we're going to be in the same situation every year, and we may not be back to the NFC North Championship. Because if we can't contain these guys, we're not going to win many ball games. I think that you've seen the best games we played last year were not against, dual threat quarterbacks. It's been our Achilles heel. And there's two ways that this is going to get fixed. You either really get, lockdown corners where you can play run heavy sets, or you get a pass rush and then your corners just need to hold their own. So, Derek, I was going to kick it over to you to say, what do you think about the potential for the NFC North to have three dual threat quarterbacks? not just 1.5, with Jordan Love being the half, but three, because we've seen Jordan Love finally put it together there at the end of the season.
Yeah, what's crazy is I was thinking about this last week. We talked about it, like how Jared Goff is like the last of a dying breed, a pocket passer, like, and how you're right. We're going to be in trouble. And that's why, Will, I'm just like, Brad has to see this stuff, right? If he is, and I believe he is on the way to GOAT status. I mean, he's already done things that we haven't seen in a very long time, in 30 plus years. So I'm ready to give him when he gets his pass rush, but we're going to have to find a way. I could not imagine the Bears, the Vikings, who Kirk Cousins is also a pocket passer. And now Jordan Love we're surrounded by dual threat quarterbacks who give us a hard time. So the better we get at containing them, the better chance we can beat them, because if Justin Fields has to stand in that pocket, we're going to win. That's right. Just it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's scary, bro. I didn't even look at it like that, because for everything Justin is, that dude is a monster on the ground for sure. So it's going to be a long season, man, if we don't find a way to contain those guys.
And I think Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels, I think they're going to be incrementally better than Justin Fields ever was, because they can spin it, and they're extremely high-end quarterbacks mentally. So to speak on Caleb Williams here for just a minute, the reason why I wanted to talk about the drama in suing Caleb Williams is I think that he did it for a reason, and that was, for me, the medical issues that seem to pop up. I've been through a whole host of, x-rays and CTs and MRIs and you name it. And sometimes you get incidental findings, right? And those are the ones that freak you out the most. So I think by Caleb saying, look at the tape, watch the tape, you'll see the work. Who cares what your x-rays say? Sometimes you find an incidental finding, and then you're going to have, all of the other agents and teams that want to implode his ability so that maybe their players get chosen and they move up the board. So I think Caleb was smart. His agent was smart in not allowing the other teams that, he doesn't really have a potential to go to talk to him even, but no medical. I think that he's trying to reduce the inflammatory responses that were going to come out, after, the medical was done, because, these guys, they get a hold of this stuff and they run with it. And that's where you get all the bad narratives in the NFL that, it's big time rumors, and it trashes somebody's career. Jalen Carter, obviously the whole thing that happened last year was a big to do, and that ruined him from being number one, dropping. I think he's still taking the top 10, but some of that was his own doing, right? He should have never been there, but then people ran with it, including myself. I mean, I was hot all over it because I thought the Lions were going to take this guy, and he had character issues from what we could, surmise anyway. So I think it was smart for Caleb. I think it's going to be a new trend. But you just touched on something a second ago, Jared Goff being a pure pocket passer, dying breed. I got news, man. It's coming back. The pure pocket passer is coming back. And I believe, when you look at the Tom Brady's, you look at the Joe Flacco's, the Jared Goffs, the Kirk Cousins. I mean, Kirk could run. I mean, Aaron Rodgers doesn't run a whole lot, but he's a pocket passer too. Dying breed, but I think it's coming back. I think that when you look at the quarterbacks that are entering the league now, every single one of them is a pure pocket passer that just happens to run. And that's the thing that worries me the most about Caleb and Jaden and JJ McCarthy. These guys, they can spin it. And I think that's what you're looking for, is guys that can make plays with their arm as a quarterback versus their legs. And you got running backs for a reason, man. You know, you got to use them. So
I agree.
All right. Justin Fields to Minnesota. Look, I think it's a problem. I think that the Lions, they need to do one thing or the other. If Justin Fields is going there, they got to do their best to bring Danielle Hunter to Detroit. It's just my opinion. I think that you've got to take talent away from the other teams that are going to give you headaches throughout the season. Last segue, last topic. I know it's 9:30, but quickly, anybody that jumped out to you in the combine that you feel would make a Detroit Lion, at 29? Anybody that you're willing to rest your hat on?
Got to be honest, Will, didn't invest too much time or effort into watching it. Saw a lot of updates on Twitter, stuff like that. So I can't really say yes to that, but there was some guys near the, that as the combine was starting, the defensive line was there, which is my primary focus. I think Darius Robinson was a guy. Talk about a project dude. We're already picking late. He could be there. I don't think he's going to be there when we pick in the second round. So as far as maybe Brad has.
Looks like we lost Derek. I don't know what happened there. Well, I guess I'll be wrapping it up here. So here's what I'm going to say is I don't know why we lost him. He just kind of disappeared. But anyway, try to come back, Derek, if you can hear it. You've got the link. Come on back in. So here's what I'm going to say. There's a couple of guys, that I noticed in the combine that should be Detroit Lions. He mentioned Darius Robinson. I think that is a great opportunity for the Lions because he has all of the size of Myles Garrett. He just doesn't have the speed. He has all of the intangibles I think that you're looking for. Looks like Derek says he's offline. Okay, so he must have lost his internet or something. So I'll wrap it up. Appreciate you coming in this morning, Derek. And as always, man, he brings amazing energy and conversation to this morning show. So it's awesome, that we're able to partner on these things and give you guys, different perspective from around the league. I'll come back to you in just 1 second, Braylon. Appreciate the $5 donation. That'll pop up in just a moment here with your dedicated sound. So there's a couple of guys that I feel could help this team. And there's one guy that did not do any testing. And when you look at names that might mean something, last year we had a name, Jack Campbell. And I thought, man, that's kind of special, right? You got Coach Campbell.
Brown, first down. That's going to do it. That's going to do it. That's going to do it. Jared Goff delivers against his former team. Now all they have to do is take a knee 3 times, and this game will be over.
All right. So you've got Jack Campbell, right? Interesting name because you've got Coach Campbell and Jack Campbell. And then there's another name. And we talk about drinking it all the time. So I don't have his medical. I don't have any testing times, but we should have it at the pro day. And here we go. I'm resting my hat on Kool-Aid. Pre-combine, I thought he was going to be a fit. And post-combine, I don't have any information. Yeah, Derek, I don't know what happened. You just disappeared. I don't know if I bumped my mouse or what, but if you can come back in, that would be great. Let me send you another link. If you don't have time, I understand. Give me 1 second, guys. I got to get a new mouse. If my mouse did it, I apologize because this mouse, if I touch the buttons on the left side, wherever my mouse is, it does something. So either there's a way that I can turn it off or I've got to get a different mouse. So anyway, I'm resting my hat on Kool-Aid right now to be picked 29. I'm hoping that he falls down to us at 29. But I picked up this shirt because that's my pick, man, for right now. So until we get some pro day testing, I'm resting with Kool-Aid. I think that the Lions are going to figure out a way to move up in this draft and find another pick in the top 45. And if they can do that, we will end up with a Chop Robinson a Darius Robinson, a Rookie Aurora, somebody, and Rookie could be available at 61 too. So the reason why I picked Kool-Aid is because, man, the symmetry in the name. I mean, how fitting is the symmetry in the name? Jack Campbell, Dan Campbell, Kool-Aid, McKinstry. You know, we've been drinking Kool-Aid for decades, so it's a fit. I don't know if there's, anything that's going to come of it, but for right now, I just thought I'd be a little funny with it. That's my guy for right now. So, hey, good morning, Brent. Good morning, Steve. How you guys doing? And looks like Derek said he'll be back on Thursday. So again, I apologize, Derek. I don't know what happened, but we'll see you back on Thursday. So as far as the rest of the topics for today, that was it. Rumor City is upon us. Look, we've got a fast and furious week approaching. You guys should expect a ton of content coming out. As we get the information, we're going to deliver it. But more importantly, if you want some information quickly and you want to read up on all the news as it's happening, again, please check out sportspider.com. Link is in the description. It'll bring you right to the Lions page. And from there, you guys can create your own page within Sports Spider. Free to sign up. No credit card needed. And enjoy it, man. They're an awesome sponsor, awesome website. They do a really good job at bringing in and clawing in all of the sports topics, whether it's videos, podcasts, news articles, you name it. And then, of course, check out the Twitter at Will Rock Jr. That's something that I'm still learning, but now they offer articles on Twitter. So I'm going to start posting, a couple articles a week. I just dropped one the other day. And on Thursday, I think that one of the topics is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know that Derek is looking forward to me probably losing my mind again because I can't find 26 million reasons why. I just can't. And if we're going to talk about the Brad Holmes way and the way that the Lions are trying to do things, I think that he's a phenomenal fit. But I also think that with the Brad Holmes way, it may not be a fit. So I put out an article on the Twitter at Will Rock Jr. talking about this exact thing. And just before you guys trash me, just know I am a number one supporter of the Detroit Lions, just like you are. I'm a super fan, just like some of you are. And I'm invested into this team in more ways than just financially or podcast. It's emotional. It's decades of being a fan. So I'm all about Amon-Ra. I'm all about Jared Goff. I'm all about, the players that are on this team. But there's some things that I have to be critical on. There's some things that I have to be honest with. And that's the realistic side of me. The fan side says, pay the dude. Pay him $30 million, whatever it takes to keep him. The realistic side says, but what about next year? So that's it for today. What about Thursday? We'll be back right here on at Rocked On Syndicate. You guys enjoy your Tuesday morning, wherever you are. Make it a great one. Take care. Bye-bye.